Okay, I want to jump into this first story here, and this is an update to a story that we did a few months ago. All right, and this is dealing with the cold case of Emmett Till, the murder of Emmett Till. Now we know that the Department of Justice, I think it was late 2021, the Department of Justice closed out an investigation that they opened because of allegations made by Professor Timothy Tyson in his book that came out in 2017, The Blood of Emmett Till. Okay. And we talked about that here on this show as well. And we dealt with the holes in his argument in saying that Carolyn Bryant Donham recanted her testimony, etc. We'll get to that in just a minute. But this article here from NBC News, Emmett Till's family again calls for woman's arrest after the discovery of a 1955 warrant. Okay. And we're going to the phone lines in just a minute. So Norm, hold the line. Again, the calling number is 313-778-7600, 33778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. Now, the document dated August 29th, 1955, which was the day after Emmett Till was murdered. He was murdered August 28th, 1955. The document dated August 29th, 1955 was found last month, June 2022, inside a box in the basement of a Mississippi courthouse. Now, here's a picture of Carolyn Bryant Donham on the left with Juanita Millam, the wives of Roy Bryant and J.W. Millam, the two men that murdered Emmett Till. We know they were found not guilty in a courtroom. They had an all-white jury, but a few months after the trial, they admitted to killing Emmett Till in an interview for Look magazine, and they were paid $4,000 for the interview. So here the two women are. They were in the offices of their husband's attorneys, their husband's lawyer in Sumner, Mississippi, September 30th, 1955. Okay, the men were later acquitted in the kidnapping and the murder of Emmett Till. Now, one of the things that makes this case complicated, as I've said before, is that all the witnesses are dead. Okay, so when you go to court, where your witnesses. This article is from July 7th, 2022. The family of Emmett Till urged authorities Thursday to move on a recently discovered unserved warrant from 1955 that charges a white woman in the black teenager's murder and kidnapping. Okay, and this arrest warrant was for kidnapping. Okay, this arrest warrant was for kidnapping. Now, the arrest warrant was never served because the authorities said, well, she has two young children and they didn't want to bother her. Okay, Mamie Till's son, Emmett, was dead. They didn't want to bother this white woman. Now, Emmett Till's cousin, Priscilla Sterling, pressed District Attorney W. Dwayne Richardson, whose office would handle a potential prosecution, to issue the warrant, the arrest warrant for Carolyn Bryant Donham, okay, the wife of Roy Bryant. Now, Carolyn Bryant Donham, identified as Miss Roy Bryant in the warrant, unearthed last month, June 2022, in the basement of the LaFleur County Courthouse, was married to one of the two white men tried and acquitted just weeks after Emmett Till was abducted from a relative's home, killed, and dumped in the Tallahatchie River. Now, Sterling said, Priscilla Sterling said, quote, "The family wants Carolyn Bryant to face justice. The family wants Carolyn Bryant to face justice." She told this to Report on Thursday, July 7th, 2022. "We want her to at least come here and defend herself," end quote. Now, the district attorney did not immediately respond to a request for comment. LaFleur County Sheriff Ricky Banks was not immediately available for comment, but he told the Associated Press last month that he had never before heard of the arrest warrant. Okay. And it was basically a few months ago that we heard about the arrest warrant for the first time. We didn't know that there was an arrest warrant for kidnapping that had been issued for Carolyn Bryant Donham in 1955. Sheriff Banks, the Florida County Sheriff Ricky Banks, said, I quote, "I will see if I can get a copy of the warrant and get with the DA and get their opinion on it." Sheriff Banks said, according to the Associated. The warrant is dated August 29th, 1955. August 29th, 1955, the day after Emmett Till was lynched. And the arrest warrant was inside a file folder that had been placed in a box, said Circuit Clerk Elmus Stockstill, E-L-M-U-S, Stockstill, who certified the document as genuine. Now, although the two men, J.W. Millam and Roy Bryant, were acquitted by an all-white jury, they deliberated for something like 45 minutes, something like that. They later admitted to killing Emmett Till in an interview in Look magazine. Now, if you watch Eyes on the Prize, and I have the Eyes on the Prize on DVD. I bought the box set from Amazon. If you Eyes on the Prize starts with the kidnapping and murder of Emmett Till. And they talk about the trial. And you have the brother from the Amsterdam News. You had Congressman Charles Diggs from Michigan, African-American Congressman from Charles Diggs from Michigan. They go down to Mississippi for the trial, and African-American news media across the country are there. It was a segregated courtroom. It was like going back in time. It was a segregated courtroom, and they give a firsthand account of what it was like in this courtroom in Mississippi, and hearing this trial and seeing an all-white jury and seeing African-Americans sitting on one side of the courtroom, white people sitting on the other side, and the jury deliberating for something like less than an hour, something like 45 minutes, coming back with a not guilty verdict. And everybody knew that these two white men killed Emmett Till. Everybody in Mississippi knew that these were the two white men who killed Emmett Till. Now, although the two men, J.W. Millam and Roy Bryant, were acquitted, they later admitted to killing Emmett Till in a magazine. It was Look magazine. They were paid $4,000 for their interview. But because of double jeopardy, they could not be tried again for the same crime. They admitted to killing him. Okay. And Roy Bryant said something to the effect that he said that they were just trying to scare him. They didn't plan to kill him. But then Emmett Till said something. And he said he looked at Emmett Till and said, "Boy, you're never going to see your mother again." Something to that effect. Now, last year, 2021, a federal investigation that re-examined the murder ended after the Justice Department failed to find proof that Carolyn Bryant Donham had lied. Now, we broke this down extensively here on this show. And not only that, I walked you through the 16-page report from the Department of Justice. I ain't dealing with no he said, she said. When you actually read the 16-page report from the Department of Justice, you see why they couldn't against her. Number one, she maintained that she did not recant her testimony. Two, her daughter-in-law also was interviewed. Her daughter-in-law said she never recanted her testimony. Her daughter-in-law was present for the two interviews that Professor Timothy Tyson did with Carolyn Bryant Donham in 2008. And the question I have, the first question, now back in 2017, when the story broke that, oh, she recanted her testimony. Okay. When you go and read through those articles and look for the evidence, there's no evidence she recanted her testimony. And the question I have is, if Professor Timothy Tyson interviewed Carolyn Bryant Donham in 2008 twice and she recanted her testimony, why did you wait to 2017 to say something about it about a month before your book called The Blood of Emmett Till was coming out? If you had smoking gun evidence that she recanted her testimony, why did you not go to the authorities? Why did you wait 9 years to say something? We're going to deal with this on the other side of the break. Proper documentation ends all conversation. We go through and break this stuff down and provide the evidence for you. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. Okay, all the and when we come back from the break, I want you to hear this segment from the readout Joanne Reed, because Joy interviewed a relative of Emmett Till about this new development. Although the two men, J.W. Millam and Roy Bryant, were acquitted, they later admitted to killing Emmett Till in an interview with Look magazine. In last year, in 2021, a federal investigation that re-examined the murder ended after the Justice Department failed to find proof that Carolyn Bryant Donham had lied. Now, we know Emmett Till was 14 years old. He was from Chicago. He's visiting his family in Money, Mississippi, when he entered the store in Money, Mississippi, where Carolyn Bryant Donham, then 21 years old, was working. She accused Emmett Till of making improper advances after he whistled at her, an act considered at the time to be defiance of the South's racist social codes, their segregation. Now, evidence indicates a woman, possibly Carolyn Bryant Donham, identified Emmett Till to the men who later killed him. Now, the problem is you have to prove this in court. You can't go into court and said the witch lied. That's not evidence. You have to prove this in court. Problem is all the witnesses are dead. So how do you prove this? This is the challenge with taking her to court. Now, her arrest warrant was publicized at the time, 1955, but was never served because LaFleur County Sheriff told reporters, the LaFleur County Sheriff at the time in 1955 told reporters he did not want to bother Carolyn Bryant Donham because she had two young children. Okay, because she had two young children. Imagine that. He didn't want to bother her because she had two young children. But Emmett Till is dead. Okay, she had two young children to care for. All right, now Carolyn Bryant Donham, who is now in her 80s and was recently living in North Carolina, has not commented publicly on the discovery of the warrant. She could not be reached on Tuesday, July 7th, when this article came out, at phone numbers listed for her. Emmett Till's murder shocked the nation and acted as a catalyst for the civil rights movement. And it really helped galvanize the civil rights movement. The NAACP and Medgar Evers helped to gather witnesses to testify at the trial. We know that also there's a good article. So the class that I teach on Sundays, From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968, we get deep into this and deal with how the murder of Emmett Till helped to galvanize the civil rights, the modern day civil. We know that there was a meeting that Rosa Parks attended where Dr. T.R.M. Howard was speaking, and this was about the murder of Emmett Till. This was a few days before, I think it was a few days before she refused to give up her seat, December 1st, 1955, on that Cleveland Avenue bus. We know this is going to launch the Montgomery bus boycott and what's known as the modern day civil rights movement. Okay. There's a good article. There's a good article from history.com, the official website of the History Channel, called How Emmett Till's Murder Galvanized the Civil Rights Movement. How Emmett Till's murder galvanized the Civil Rights Movement. This is from February 3rd, 2017. You listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, July 10th, 2022, and we are live. Calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. I know it's been a few weeks since we've been on live, so you can give us a call. If you call in, please keep your comment short or question short, because I have a lot of information to get through. All right. Okay. Also, visit our new website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com, theafricanhistorynetwork.com. We're going back to the Emmett Till story, the update in the cold case of Emmett Till's murder. Going back to that in just a minute. We're going to this clip here from the readout with Joanne Reed. as well. She interviewed a relative of Emmett Till. Our new website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com. You can support the African History Network through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show, Cash App, $, the AHN show. This helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, pay some of the bills, etc. This is our App account, $, the AHN show, SHOW. These other ones, and there are a few other ones that are not shown here, are fake African History Network Cash App accounts. I've already launched an investigation I've already had Cash App launch investigation. I'm trying to get these fake ones shut down because they've been stealing money from us. We have a 72-hour sale going on until Tuesday, July 12th. Get 30% off orders of $100 or more, excluding online courses. So my lectures and some others, DVD and digital downloads at our new website, theafricanhistory.com. Okay, we have the information there. You can also register for the online history classes I teach normally on Saturdays and Sundays. Now we have 2 special sessions. One is going to Tuesday, July 12th, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. of Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school, 10-week online class. And then on Wednesday, July 13th, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., a special session from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. Those classes are on sale, $60 each, regularly $130. We have a bundle pack where you can register for both classes for $100. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. As soon as you register, you can go back and watch the classes like we did the past few weeks, and you can join us in class for the next classes Tuesday and Wednesday. Okay, I want to go back to the story here, and I sent you that clip, Jalen, so we want to go to that here in just a minute. Okay, if we go back to this article here from NBC News, there's a good piece here. This one is this is dealing with the arrest warrant that was found. Okay, the arrest warrant that was found, that was issued August 29th, 1955. Okay, so Emmett Till's murder shocked the nation and acted as a catalyst for the civil rights movement. His mother, Mamie Till Mobley, insisted on an open casket to show the brutality of his killing, and thousands attended his funeral. We know that Jet Magazine showed those images, and it shocked the world also. Now, Malik Shabazz, a lawyer who, not Minister Malik Shabazz here in Detroit, but this is Malik Shabazz, a lawyer who appeared with the Emmett Till family Thursday, said the effort to bring Carolyn Bryant Donham to justice was worth pursuing despite Dunham's age. She's in her 80s. He said Emmett Till never got to make it to 87. Emmett Till never had a day where he could go to a nursing home or whatever, because his life was taken. So check out this article here from NBC News, and there were other articles dealing with this as well. We posted about this on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network. It got thousands of likes and hundreds of comments. Emmett Till's family again calls for a woman's arrest after the discovery of a 1955 warrant. Okay, now I want to go to this clip here. This is from the readout with Joanne Reed. This is from June 30th, is this the right one? June 30th, 2022. Carolyn Bryant must be indicted for role in murder, kidnapping of Emmett Till, his cousin says. Joanne Reed interviewed Emmett Till's cousin, and trying to get her name here. Okay, well, we'll hear it in the I was trying to see if they listed her name here, but okay, let's go to this clip, Jalen.
It has been nearly 67 years since Emmett Till was abducted, tortured, and lynched in Mississippi after the 14-year-old black boy from Chicago who was visiting family in Mississippi was accused of making advances at a white woman. In an amazing discovery last week, a team searching a Mississippi courthouse basement for evidence in the case uncovered an unserved 1955 arrest warrant charging that same woman for Till's kidnapping. Included in that team were relatives of Till. They're now calling for the woman, Carolyn Bryant Donham, now in her 80s, to be arrested. Donham was married to one of the 2 white men who were tried and acquitted for Till's brutal murder, shockingly, by an all-white jury. Maybe not so shockingly given this country's history. They later confessed to the killing. The arrest warrant against Donham was publicized at the time. But get this, the sheriff told reporters that he did not want to, quote, bother Ms. Bryant since she had 2 young children to care for. American history. With me now is Deborah Watts, Emmett Till's cousin and co-founder of the Emmett Till Legacy Foundation. She was part of the team that discovered the warrant. Thank you so much for being here, Ms. Watts. I want to take you back to that discovery. What were you all looking for in that courthouse, and how did you come upon this incredible document?
Well, I'll just tell you it was a team of about 5 of us. It was the second opportunity to search. There was a team that went towards the end of March after we had a meeting with the Department of Justice, the FBI investigator, and the DA Richardson. And so at that time, they told us there was nothing to do. And we knew all along that this warrant for Carolyn Bryant's arrest was never served. Keith Beauchamp, who is an award-winning filmmaker and was responsible for the investigation that reopened the case in 2004, made sure that we understood that. And so a collective group of us went to the courthouse in LaFleur County, Greenwood, Mississippi, to search for that warrant. And we knew that one bit of evidence had never been served, and we wanted to find it amongst other things that we thought might be there. But we did find it, and we are hoping that this leads to the at least the execution of the warrant to Carolyn Bryant Donham, charging her in the kidnapping and murder of Emmett Till, because she's culpable in that, without malice, without hate, or without vengeance.
Okay, we're going to pause it right there. We're going to pick this up on the other side of the break. That was Deborah Watts, a cousin of Emmett Till. We're going to give you some more information on this. And also, I want to just walk you briefly through the 16-page report from the Department of Justice. And we did this when they released the report late last year. And you see why they could not bring charges. Okay, they investigated all this stuff floating around in media. Oh, she recanted the testimony, all this stuff. They investigated all that and keep coming up with zeros, keep coming up with nothing. You listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
The work that I do is larger than the fashion industry. It's larger than the art world. And I believe that I was born to bring newness into this world. I'm Kaima McIntyre. I'm 24 years old and I'm an artist. I create everything from paintings to jewelry design, metaphysical jewelry to be specific, and fashion design. The only reason why my prom dress went viral is because people needed it. Within a few days of going viral, Notori Naughton reached out to me and she's like, I saw your dress, can you make me a dress? I was equally as shocked to be asked by a celebrity to design their dress at the age of 17. That's just one person, and the list just continues to go on to Janet Jackson, to Tyra Banks. It really hits home. That means that the discussion is happening on the grounds in real time.
iRedify is a Black-owned digital platform that showcases Black and Brown cultures and people. The books on the platform are written by African-American authors, Afro-Caribbean authors, African authors, and so much more. Kids 14 and under can read ebooks, listen to audiobooks, and complete learning activities. Kids can even write in the books digitally. Get unlimited access to everything on the platform for only $8.99 a month at iRedify.com. Sign up for your membership today. I want to go back to this interview here from June 30th, 2022. This is from the Read Out with Joanne Reed. She's speaking to Deborah Watts, who's a cousin of Emmett Till. Let's go back to this clip, please, Jalen.
We want justice served. And so we were just excited, ecstatic, happy, very emotional at the time when we found it in the lower level of the LaFleur County courthouse area in the basement there.
Carolyn Bryant Donham, she, the book, The Blood of Emmett Till, which brought a lot of people, younger people, to this story that only knew about it from, history class if it's illegal to teach in their state. that in that book, Carolyn Bryant Donham, she actually gave an interview to that author, and then she took back her previous admissions that she lied about your cousin, about Emmett Till. Do you want her arrested?
Pause it right there, Jalen. Pause it right there.
Pause it right there.
Pause it right there. Back that up about 20, 30 seconds. That is false. Carolyn Bryant Donham has not recanted her testimony. And when after this, see, I don't know who prepped Joanne Reed for that segment. That is blatantly false. I know what the headline said. I reported on this back in 2017 when that information came out. When you go through and read all those articles, there's no evidence she recanted her testimony. This is why the Department of Justice had to close their investigation. See, I actually read the 16-page report that the Department of Justice released explaining why they had to close the investigation. Go back to the clip, please.
Area in the business there.
Carolyn Bryant Donham, she, the book, The Blood of Emmett Till, which brought a lot of people, younger people, to this story that only knew about it from, history class if it's illegal to teach in their state. That in that book, Carolyn Bryant Donham, she actually gave an interview to that author, and then she took back her previous admissions that she lied about your cousin, about Emmett Till. Do you want her arrested and put under oath to get her to, under oath, say what she did?
Well, we think the evidence speaks for itself, and we think that the sheriff needs to serve that warrant to Carolyn Bryant. The DA needs to impanel a grand jury, and then they need to bring Carolyn in to be a part of that and indict her being culpable in the murder and, first of all, the kidnapping of Emmett Till.
Absolutely.
But Carolyn definitely was there. I mean, the FBI investigation and other reports and the admission by Dale Schillinger, who was the FBI investigator at the time, he received an admission from that two other young men had been brought to her to identify them. And of course, we know what happened with Emmett. Those two other young men were accosted. They were thrown out, beat up. Some of them were beat up. But Emmett, what happened to Emmett? He was kidnapped and murdered later. So there had to be an identification. Carolyn Bryant could be the only person that would do that. And in fact, in the documents that we found, there was an affidavit for her arrest as well. Also, the address of Mose Wright, who identified her. He had right. So they talked to him, and this kidnapping took place, of course, Joy, before the murder. So justice needs to be served. It's time, and Carolyn needs to be brought to justice.
I just want to very quickly, before we run out of time, ask you, I mean, you were 6, 7 years old when your cousin was murdered. How did, his murder and this historic funeral that Mamie Till opened the casket so that the world would have to see the results of it? Were you at that funeral? How did his death impact your family?
I was not at the funeral. I was actually a toddler at the time, not quite 6, 7 years of age, but I heard about it. When Mamie Till Mobley traveled across the country to speak out along with the NAACP, she came to my hometown, Omaha, Nebraska, and I was able to see a booklet that was created by a photojournalist, Ernest Withers, who identified and photographed, I should say, the trial and that famous photo of Mose Wright pointing at the two murderers. And so I was able to see that and connect the tears, the emotions with Mamie's visit. And see, even as a toddler, I was able to become emotional about it. But later in years, Mamie Till Mobley is my shero. And we oftentimes had conversations about what happened, who was responsible, and what kind of justice she wanted.
Yeah.
She did not want, she did not, I would say this, she didn't want to have any type of hate towards Carolyn Bryant or vengeance, and we hold that in our hearts as well. We just want justice served, just as we wanted, just as we wanted it as well.
Indeed. Deborah Watts, it's such an honor to talk to you. Thank you so much, and the best to your family, and we wish you very much luck in pursuing this case. Thank you, Deborah Watts.
Okay, pause right there. All right, thanks, Jalen. Okay, that was from June 30th, 2022. That is from the readout with Joanne Reed. Good interview, except for that inaccurate information that Joy disseminated that came from headlines But when you actually dig deeper into that, it's false. Carolyn Bryant must be indicted for role in murder, kidnapping of Emmett Till, his cousin says, June 30th, 2022. The readout, that's at msnbc.com. You can watch that clip in its entirety. Now, let's go to, now back in April of April 2022, we know the Detroit News had the article, Emmett Till's relatives want the woman who accused him prosecuted for 1955 kidnapping. Also, Yahoo News, by any means, Emmett Till's family calls on authorities to use 1995 kidnapping warrant. Should be 1955. They have a typo in their headline. 1955 kidnapping warrant to apprehend woman who was wrongly accused, Chicago teen. So these are articles we reported on this back when this happened. This is Detroit Free Press, an article from the Detroit Free Press, along with my notations as well. Now let's look at this here. Now this is when this came out. I talked about this December 6, 2021. Emmett Till notice to close file. This is the 16-page report from the Department of Justice explaining why they had to close the file on Emmett Till. They kept running into dead ends when they go in, all these claims floating around in the media and all this stuff. It's easy to say things on shows. It's easy to say things in a book. When you go to court, the burden of proof is on the prosecution. You have to be able to prove your case based upon the evidence. As Denzel Washington told Training Day, it's not what you believe, it's what you can prove. That's what this is. Now, go back when this came out in December 21, we went through this here on this show. Go read this. This is from the Department of Justice, justice.gov, official website of the Department of Justice. Emmett Till, notice to close file. This is the 16-page report that goes through and breaks down their investigation, what they investigated, all the leads they went through, and what they found, okay, and why they had to close the investigation. I'm going to focus on pages 4 and 5, section D, for the sake of time, because this is only a 2-hour show. Okay, section D starts on, that's A. Okay, should be page 5. Section, let's scroll down here. Yeah, section D starts on page 4. Pages 4 and 5. That's what we're going to focus on. You can read this whole thing in its entirety, but I'm going to focus on section 4 and 5. Okay. Section 4 and 5, starting with section D. They talk about, in section C, they talk about the 2004 federal investigation as well. We broke all this down here on the show when this report came out. Section D, Timothy Tyson's claim, Professor Timothy Tyson, who wrote the book, The Blood of Emmett Till. And when this revelation came out in 2017, we dealt with this here on the African History Network show, and I had a whole lot of questions in that still haven't been answered. Timothy Tyson's claim that Carolyn Bryant Donham recanted her testimony. Okay, now, let's go to this here. Let me increase the size of this. All right. No additional investigations were taken by the federal or state government in the next decade. Then, shortly before the publication of his book, The Blood of Emmett Till, Timothy Tyson, who's a professor, Professor Timothy Tyson, revealed to several media outlets that Carolyn Bryant Donham had, during an interview with him nearly a decade earlier, recanted the account that she had provided under oath during a hearing at the trial of Roy Bryant and J.W. Miller. Now, just keep in mind, people are saying, oh, bring up a perjury charge. Just keep in mind, perjury charges are between 5 to 7 years after they are committed, after perjury is committed. The trial was in 1955. It's past the statute of limitations for the trial. If she gave false statements to the FBI during their investigations, the statute of limitations, I think, is 7 years for that. You can bring up charges on that, but once again, you have to prove it based upon evidence, especially when you go to court. It's based upon evidence. It's not what people say on TV shows. It's based upon the evidence. Now, Professor Timothy Tyson's account suggested that Carolyn Bryant Donham lied in court in 1955 and lied to the FBI, which would be a crime if you can prove it, and lied to the FBI. Let's go back to this. Timothy Tyson's account suggested that Carolyn Bryant lied in court and lied during the FBI's 2004 investigation. Okay, now the statute of limitations for the 2004 investigation have expired. It's basically 7 years. That'd be 2011. The investigation that the FBI just closed in 2021, that's still within the statute of limitations. That's still, so if you can prove that she lied in the statements that she gave to the FBI, well, then that's grounds for prosecution. But once again, you have to prove it based upon evidence. And, you know, one of the problems is all the witnesses are dead. Specifically, Professor Timothy Tyson stated that Carolyn Bryant Donham admitted that her representation that Emmett Till had made verbal and physical advances toward her, in the store was, quote unquote, not true. The FBI went through, they investigated all this. Now, in the book, in Professor Timothy Tyson's book, which was published the following month, in 2017, Professor Timothy Tyson wrote that Carolyn Bryant Donham said, quote, I have thought about everything Emmett Till, the killing and the trial, telling who did what to who. And then she murmured, quote, they're all dead now anyway, according to Timothy Tyson's account. They're all dead now anyway. He wrote that while, quote, trying hard to distinguish fact from remembrance, Carolyn Bryant Donham revealed a story different from what he thought he knew about the incident. Specifically, he represented that Carolyn Bryant Donham handed him a transcript of her sworn testimony and claimed that part's not true. What part's not true? When you go through and read those articles, they quote this part. She said that part's not true, according to Timothy Tyson. He doesn't say what part is not true. We're going to continue this on the other side of the break, get deeper into the actual report from the Department of Justice that goes through and investigates all this stuff circulating in the media, things like this. Now, this was before the arrest warrant surfaced. Okay, but they go through and they show why they had to close this investigation. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, July 10th, 2022. Calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. I'm going to get through some more of this actual report from the Department of Justice dealing with their investigation into the allegations that Carolyn Bryant Donham recanted her testimony as told by Professor Timothy Tyson in his book, The Blood of Emmett Till. Then we're going to go to the phone lines. We'll go to Willie, hold the line. Okay. And once again, it's important for us to read. In 2017, when this story came out, I read numerous articles on this, and I read statements by Professor Timothy Tyson, things like this. And I really wasn't convinced because I'm like, okay, I'm reading the headline. She recanted her testimony. I'm looking at his statements and I'm looking, okay, what evidence are you citing? There was one statement that he said in some of the articles had it. Oh, and what he did 2 interviews with her. He said she started spilling the beans before he could start recording. He said she was spilling the beans right away. What did she say? Provide your evidence, because this is what the FBI said, and the FBI said you gave us 1 recording. You said you had 2. You gave us 1 recording. Professor Timothy Tyson's explanation of what happened to the second recording kept changing. His explanation of did she actually confess to recanting testimony? His explanation kept changing on that too. Emmett Till noticed to close file. Do I want her brought to justice? Absolutely. But when you go to court, the burden of proof is on the prosecution. Saying the witch lied is not evidence. And her defense attorney will destroy Professor Timothy Tyson on cross-examination. This is from Monday, December 6, 2021. Okay. And this starts out, it talks about the fact that, and I'm going to information I'm sharing is on page 4. Okay, page 4 starts section D. That's, to me, the most important stuff here. They go through, and on page 2, when they go through and look at this, it starts, I want to start with the paragraph in early 2017. Okay, so formally this case, okay, next one right here. This is page 2. In early 2017, new information emerged suggesting that Carolyn Bryant Donham recanted her claims that Emmett Till had assaulted and propositioned her in the store. Timothy Tyson, a university professor who had written a book, The Blood of Emmett Till, alleged during, pay attention to this, alleged during a book promotion tour that Carolyn Bryant Donham had during an interview with him nearly a decade earlier. Why'd you wait so long to say something? Nearly a decade earlier in 2008, recanted the account that she had provided under oath and proceedings related to Roy Bryant and J.W. Millam's trial. Okay. Professor Timothy Tyson, once Tyson's assertion about the recantation was made public, members of Emmett Till's family, state and federal public officials, advocacy groups, journalists, and other interested parties requested an investigation into, and if possible, prosecution of Carolyn Bryant Donham. Now, shortly after the books, so this stuff came out, they said, can you look into this? Can you investigate this? The Department of Justice opened up an investigation. When they open up an investigation, they're going to investigate. They interviewed a bunch of people, all these claims. They interviewed Carolyn Bryant Donham and her daughter-in-law because her daughter-in-law was present for both of the interviews. Shortly after the book's publication, The Blood of Emmett Till, in 2017, attorneys in the Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division, the United States Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Mississippi, and the Mississippi District Attorney's Office, 4th District, reopened prior investigations to examine the truthfulness of Professor Timothy Tyson's claim and re-examine the earlier decision to close the case without prosecution, because there was a 2004 investigation. That 2004 investigation was closed. So they're going back looking at the 2004 investigation as well. Specifically, the Department of Justice reviewed its previous determination concerning Carolyn Bryant Donham's culpability in Emmett Till's abduction and murder, and also considered whether new information coming from Professor Timothy Tyson suggested that any other living person complicit in Emmett Till's murder could be identified and potentially prosecuted. Are there any other witnesses we don't know about? Because when you go to court, you're going to need witnesses. You're going to need evidence. You're going to need evidence that will withstand cross-examination by a defense team. The FBI's investigation, although no longer active in 2017, had never been officially closed. For the reasons set forth below, the Department of Justice has concluded, after an exhaustive multi-year review, that it cannot prosecute Carolyn Bryant Donham or any other subjects so there was 1 and then 2 for any federal offense. The department has not uncovered any new evidence that would change its conclusion from its 2004 investigation that it was not able to bring federal charges against Carolyn Bryant Donham in connection with Emmett Till's abduction and murder. Moreover, and as explained more fully below, go read this full 16-page report, because I've read it and we dealt with this on this show back when this came out in December 2021. Moreover, and as explained more fully below, the statute of limitations, which is essentially a deadline for charging someone with a crime, has run on all potential federal crimes that could apply to Emmett Till's abduction and murder, and there is no other potential basis for jurisdiction. Now, I checked Mississippi state law. There is no statute of limitations for kidnapping. There is no limitations for kidnapping, as well as federal law. There is no statute of limitations for kidnapping as well. So the arrest warrant is still valid because there's no statute of limitations when it comes to kidnapping in Mississippi or federal, but you're going to need more evidence, and where your witnesses. Additionally, the department cannot prosecute Carolyn Bryant Donham either for perjury, which is lying while under oath in relation to the 1955 state trial in Mississippi, or for previously making false statements to federal investigators. The statute of limitations has run for any charges, state or federal, as I already said, for lying under oath. It's usually between 5 to 7 years. And for any charges that could be based on false statements Carolyn Bryant Donham made to federal investigators during the 2004 investigation, because the statute of limitations ran out for the 2004 investigation. Finally, the Department of Justice cannot charge Carolyn Bryant Donham for making false statements during the current investigation. Donham was re-interviewed in 2017, at which time she denied having ever recanted her court testimony. So you got to prove in court that she recanted her testimony. And you need evidence. The department thus considered whether it could charge her with making false statements in relation to the current investigation, the one they just closed in December 2021. But to prosecute for making a false statement to federal investigators, the government would have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt to a jury, based upon the evidence, not what's in the headline, but based upon the evidence, the government would have to prove that she intentionally lied when she told FBI agents that she never recanted her prior statements. She'd have to prove. She maintained she never recanted her prior statements. Her daughter-in-law that was present for the 2 interviews that Timothy Tyson did, her daughter-in-law was interviewed in this investigation. She says she never recanted her statements. The burden of proof is on the prosecution. So you have to prove she did. Timothy Tyson said he lost the audio recording of the recantation. He said he had 2 audio recordings. He said, and the FBI said, you gave us one. There's no recantation on this audio recording. He said he lost the second one. Let me get this straight. You are interviewing her for a book. You do 2 audio recordings and you don't back your stuff up on external hard drives? I have 7 external hard drives to back this work up that I do. You didn't back this stuff up on external hard drives? That doesn't sound right. We'll deal with this on the other side of the break, and we'll go to the phone lines as well. You listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Now, we do a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We do recurring events of history and so much, much more. We're going to give you an update on what's going on. This is about self-preservation. We have to extinguish the fire of white supremacy to electrify consequences. Catch it all right here on 910 AM Superstation.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation, Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is. Are we still supposed to say that tagline, the Future Radio? I've been on the air on 910 for 6 years. So, I mean, I'm trying to figure out. I remember when they said 910 is on fleek. I'm like, what the hell is this? But anyway, Jalen, send me a text message. Is the tagline still the Future Radio? Let me know what the tagline is. I don't remember, man. Back to the Future, whatever. I don't know. But anyway. Man, come on, man. I started on Steve Hood's show in the mornings, Thursday mornings. It was on 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. So calling numbers 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600 is the calling number. It's Sunday, July 10th, 2022, and we're on live. First time we've been on live in the I think our last live broadcast was June 12th. I was extremely busy for Juneteenth, so I couldn't do the show, and the station was shut down last weekend for the 4th of July as well. That's what Dr. Shaka Muzaber Shango called it, who wrote the book African People and European Holidays and Mental Genocide. He called it the 4th of July. The other people called it the 4th of July. These two books here book 1 and book 2, African People and European Holidays and Mental Genocide, by Dr. Shaka Musa Barashango, which deals with the history of these various European holidays we've been taught to celebrate. You can celebrate them if you want to, but you should at least know the history behind what it is that you're celebrating. Because if you understand the history behind what it is that you're celebrating, it will probably change. If you decide to keep celebrating these European holidays, it will probably change how you engage in them, how you celebrate them. Okay. All right. So right before the break, we were going through breaking this down once again, as we did in December when I was on 6 days a week. And now, once you keep in mind, we're just doing our show Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because it was a financial strain for me to do the show 6 days a week. It's a lot of work and a lot of research, things like this, and I just can't do it. So we're back to just doing Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. If you follow us on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, and our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, I'll be doing some broadcasts during the day, during the week as well. But doing radio 11 p.m. at night is causing me to stay up late, get to bed late, get up late the next morning, things like that. So we're just back to once a week. Well, we appreciate the opportunity, though, from 9, 10 a.m. WFDF. Okay, back to this here, and then we're going to Willie on the phone lines. This is page 2. We're still on page 2 now. I think we're back. I think it's on page 3 of the Department of Justice investigation. Okay, so finally, the department cannot charge Carolyn Bryant Donham for making false statements during the current investigation. That's the bottom of page 2, last paragraph. Okay, but to prosecute Carolyn Bryant Donham for making a false statement to federal investigators, the government would have to prove in court, not in the media, in court, beyond a reasonable doubt, based upon the evidence, that she intentionally lied when she told FBI agents that she never recanted her prior statements. You have to prove it based upon evidence. This necessarily means that the government would have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, try to tell you, beyond a reasonable doubt, that when Carolyn Bryant Donham talked to Professor Timothy Tyson, she did, in fact, recant testimony from the state proceedings. As explained more fully below, the alleged recantation is not well documented. This is what I'm trying to see. This is different. When they do their investigation, this is different than articles being written. This is different than Joanne Reed saying what she wants to say on her show. When they actually go investigate and interview people and look at the evidence, it's something entirely different. As explained more fully below, the alleged recantation is not well documented, and Professor Timothy Tyson's own account of the recantation cannot be independently corroborated. This would prevent the government from proving beyond a reasonable doubt that Carolyn Bryant Donham recanted her testimony when she spoke to Professor Timothy Tyson over a decade ago, and consequently that she lied to FBI agents when she denied having done so. When you go to court, it's a different story. Okay, so that's on page 2 and 3. Now, we were talking on page 4, section D, Timothy Tyson's claim that Carolyn Bryant Donham recanted her testimony. Section D starts on page 4. We were dealing with that, and we were continuing on page 5 with section 4, current FBI investigation. I want to go to the phone lines. I want to go to Willie, who's been holding. Willie, welcome to the African History Network show. Tell us where you're calling from, Willie. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Mr. Imhotep, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Hey, good Sunday night. I'm calling you from Detroit.
Detroit, okay.
Hey, glad you're back on the air again.
Yep, thanks.
Oh, Carolyn Bryant Donham.
Mm-hmm.
I got the name correct.
Yeah.
Let me start by saying this. There was a couple of passages in the scriptures that came to mind when you first began to speak on this subject tonight. And one is that I can't tell you where they're found, but one goes, be sure your sins will find you out. Mm-hmm. There's another passage that says that God will not acquit God will not acquit the wicked. And thought about a news story I heard on the news that ties into this in a sense. There was a Nazi war criminal, 101 years old. He's so old, he's wheelchair bound.
Right.
Well, you know, they showed him in the wheelchair during the court hearing. He's going to have to spend the rest of his time in jail.
Right. I saw they took him out on a stretcher. One of them I saw they took out on a stretcher. Yep.
Well, I think that was a different case. This was a case where this guy was in a wheel. It may have been the same. This guy was in a wheelchair. And my point is that, you know, that horrible excuse for a human being, I'm referring to Miss Carolyn Bryant Donham, deserves no less. Right.
Now they put him on trial in Germany, right? Was that in the U.S. or Germany? They put him on trial.
I think that was overseas.
Yeah, that's overseas. That's in Germany. Probably in Germany. Yeah, okay. You're dealing with a different legal system, number one. But two, they probably had evidence.
Okay.
See, that's different. You do if it's overseas, you're dealing with a different legal system, different standard. But also, they probably had evidence to prove that he was involved in killing Jews and others, the Romanians, things like this. They had evidence. Okay. Go ahead quickly because we're up against a break. Go ahead quickly.
Okay, but what I was saying, though, the fact of it is, this man and Miss Bryant both are elderly, and whatever, and their crimes, their sins from the past have finally caught up with them. That's the point that I'm making.
Right. Okay.
So, okay.
All right, Willie.
Hey, good that you're back on there.
All right. Thanks for calling. Good information. Thanks for calling, Willie. Okay. All right, now, very quickly here because we were almost out of time. Okay, this is section D. This is page, I think we're page 4. The current investigation was designed to identify evidence corroborating author Timothy Tyson's claim that Carolyn Bryant Donham recanted her 1955 testimony, and where there was additional evidence identifying 1, previously unknown information of Carolyn Bryant Donham having been complicit in Emmett Till's abduction and murder, 2, any previously unknown living subject, and 3, a basis to support any other federal or state charges. And re-examining these issues. Now, keep in mind, this investigation was closed before we found out that there was the arrest warrant from August 29th, 1955, and before the arrest warrant was found. Okay, because we got the news in April of 2022 about this arrest warrant that was never served. In re-examining arrest warrant for kidnapping for Carolyn Bryant Donham that was never served. In re-examining these issues, the FBI interviewed Carolyn Bryant Donham, Timothy Tyson, and persons close to or associated with them. In addition, the government also re-interviewed the last of, I'm not sure, I think that may have been Emmett Till's cousin, the last surviving member of the group of young men who accompanied Emmett Till to the grocery store, grocery and meat market, and who was present when Emmett Till was abducted from his relative's home. I think that was Simeon Wright. The FBI also obtained and reviewed other relevant documents, conducted forensic computer analysis, and consulted with case agents familiar with the earlier investigation. The FBI quickly identified a significant obstacle in this investigation. Professor Timothy Tyson conducted 2 separate interviews with Donham and recorded and transcribed both. However, the key statements that Carolyn Bryant Donham reportedly made to him, recanting her previous testimony, were neither recorded nor transcribed. So the smoking gun evidence that Professor Timothy Tyson said he had, there's no evidence of the smoking gun evidence. The key statements, because the FBI went and investigated all this. Okay, these are the claims in the media. These are the claims floating around. We're going to investigate this. The statements that Carolyn Bryant Donham reportedly made to Professor Timothy Tyson, recanting his previous testimony, her previous testimony, were neither recorded nor transcribed. The FBI learned that Professor Timothy Tyson had lost one of the recordings. You didn't back this stuff up on external hard drives. I have 7 external hard drives to back up the work I do. You didn't back this stuff up. Didn't Juvenile tell you back that thing up? You didn't back up your recordings on external hard drives. Okay. The FBI learned that Professor Timothy Tyson had lost one of the recordings. the one during which Carolyn Bryant Donham reportedly recanted her earlier statements and sworn testimony. Moreover, Professor Timothy Tyson, now this was extremely important because her defense attorneys would destroy Professor Timothy Tyson on cross-examination on the witness stand in a trial. Professor Timothy Tyson gave inconsistent explanations of whether there had ever been a recording of the admission, and if not, why none had been made. What were the headlines on this? Yes, we want her brought to justice, but you got to have evidence in court. You have to have evidence. Professor Timothy Tyson also gave differing accounts as to when Carolyn Bryant Donham made the recantation, and Professor Timothy Tyson told investigators that although Carolyn Bryant Donham did not specifically identify any part of her testimony as untrue, he understood from the context of their conversation that she was referring to her allegation that Emmett Till had physically accosted her in the store, and that this connection was recorded in his written notes. Timothy Tyson's notes, however, do not include such a connection. Go on to court with that. Hotep, everybody. Hey, this is Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. I'm a talk show host, researcher, lecturer, writer, and historian. And I want to give a special shout out to everybody who has attended the 11th annual Liberated Minds Black Homeschooling Education Expo. I just want to take a few minutes, and we had a great presentation that I did on Saturday. So I teach 2 online history classes, one on Saturday and one on Sunday. On Saturday, the class that I teach, normally 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, is called Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. And this is normally a 10-week online class. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. We can't start studying our history in slavery. Even when we study the transatlantic slave trade, which is important to study, we can't start in 1619 or in the 1440s with the Portuguese, when the Portuguese get involved in the transatlantic slave trade. We have to understand the history chronologically and deal with the 800-year occupation of Europe by the Africans known as the Moors, who entered into the Iberian Peninsula, today known as Spain and Portugal, from North Africa in 711 AD. When we discuss the transatlantic slave trade, we have to first understand that African people are the original people of North, Central, and South America, and have been in the land we call the United States at least 51,700 years. Now, the second class I teach is on Sundays, normally 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's called From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. Now, these classes are normally $130. They're on sale right now, $60. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded, so you can go back and watch it anytime. So a year from now, 2 years from now, you can go back and watch the entire class. With both of these classes, I would say the content is PG-13, so you can use this with your children as well if you want to. Also, you can advertise with the African History Network. We have 3 new advertising packages. Our current promotion is buy 1 month to get 1 month free. We have 1 million followers at our Facebook fan page, the African History Network. And with our platinum package, we'll take out ads on our Facebook fan page for you as well to help maximize your advertising campaign. And we take your 30-second and 60-second commercial, we put into the rebroadcast of our shows, and also into the audio podcast of our shows as well. We only have 20 advertising slots because we have a finite amount of advertising space. Email us at ahnshow@theafricanhistorynetwork.com, ahnshow@theafricanhistorynetwork.com, or call us 313-462-0003. All right now it's corrects wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.
STEM Forward, helping our community find their place in the emerging fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Join us for our monthly live stream on our website, stemforwardedu.org. Watch, subscribe, share. Also join our mailing list to stay up to date with STEM resources and opportunities. STEM Forward, the future is now. Watch, subscribe, share.
IDO Network International, in collaboration with STL Black Woman, DACA, and ACTA, present the Royal Pilgrimage to the Americas, August 24th through the 28th. The African kings and queens are coming to you for business, networking, and sharing of Pan-African ideals. The venue will be the illustrious En Garde Arts Hotel in St. Louis, Missouri. A royal cultural experience and exhibitions, trade and investment opportunities in Africa, the Caribbean, and the Americas. A Royal Pan-African Summit hosting keynote speakers and a red carpet banquet. Come and witness an African royal coronation ceremony. Register at www.idonetwork.org to book your ticket to wine and dine with African royalty. Vendor opportunities available. Get face-to-face with the royals who own the land and resources for business. Contact DACA for deal room information at 602-730-4572.
The work that I do is larger than the fashion industry. It's larger than the art world. And I believe that I was born to bring newness into this world. I'm Kaima McIntyre. I'm 24 years old and I'm an artist. I create everything from paintings to jewelry design, metaphysical jewelry to be specific, and fashion design. The only reason why my prom dress went viral is because people needed it. Within a few days of going viral, Notori Naughton reached out to me and she's like, I saw your dress, can you make me a dress? I was equally as shocked to be asked by a celebrity to design their dress at the age of 17. That's just one person, and the list just continues to go on to Janet Jackson, to Tyra Banks. It really hits home. That means that the discussion is happening